Hi, my name is Andrew Crandall, and I am a musician, filmmaker, artist, and I want to put together a series of videos called Journey Through a Lonely Planet. Now, this is going to be a kind of a breakdown of this concept album that I wrote in the early 2000s called Lonely Planet. The basic concept of Lonely Planet was every single song was a different story about somebody dealing with loneliness, heartbreak, trying to find the meaning of life, all that different kind of stuff. And a little bit about my history is that in the early 1990s, I started writing music. I've been a musician since I was a teenager. And I started writing music, and I had a friend of mine that really liked my music, and he wanted me to try to get signed to at least a decent small label. And so I went out and bought a small or a little 4-track recorder, little Yamaha 4-track recorder. I got a person who managed me, actually slash promoted my music to record labels, and so I started recording a lot of music. Well, and also when I sent out, I got a lot of rejections, like probably a lot of people have had in the past. Of course, I was a really young artist. I really didn't know the proper crafting of a song, and I didn't know a lot at the time. So, anyways, I did it for like about close to 7 years of just like pushing hard on myself. Like basically my routine is that I would get up from my sleep, eat, go to work, come home, and work on music. And it was just constantly. That's all I did. I just was dedicated. I wanted to get into music. And the gear that I had is so adequate. I mean, just so subpar to what is available now. Like I had, my cassette tape recorder. I had a cheesy Yamaha keyboard that had a really like cheesy like synthesizer and also a drum machine in it. And I bought a bass guitar. Actually, I had electric guitars, and so that was my beginning. And I whipped out a lot of songs. I wrote probably close to 50 to 100 songs in those years. And I would continue to write afterwards. But what happens in the late 90s, I actually got tired of music and got into filmmaking. So, and then shortly after filmmaking, or actually shortly after discovering filmmaking, I moved to California. And right before I moved to California is when I wrote Lonely Planet. Now, I still had the music bug, and I wanted to create this album. So, fast forward to 2013, actually about 2010, I moved back to Minnesota for a while, because California was so hard to live. I actually started writing a script called Sarah's Smile, and it was based on that time in my life in the early 90s, kind of me trying to get into music, but I fictionalized a lot of stuff. I threw in a lot of things that I had gone through, mixed it in the script, but I also put a lot of the music that I wrote during that time into the script. And so in 2015, when we actually started recording the soundtrack, and so I was whipping out these songs, and we record and what happened one time is that I went to the studio of Tom Lillo. So during the recording process of the soundtrack when I was in California, we had my friend Lena Jerome perform a song that she had did in the movie, but we had to reproduce it by like just basically having her singing to one microphone and then one microphone on the guitar, and do a single performance recording. And that came out so amazing that in the middle of the editing, we noticed that there was a spot that we needed another song. And I remembered the song called Your Hero that I had wrote probably in 1993. It was a really simple guitar riff, and I practiced it. I'm like, wait a minute, we should try doing the same thing. So I recorded it, and I was so impressed with the quality of the sound. Of course, the microphone that we used in Tom's studio was close to an old 70s $10,000 AKG, I believe, stereo tube microphone. But I was so impressed with the quality and how that song turned out. I'm like, wait a minute, I've got all these songs I wrote back in the 90s and the early 2000s that I really, really like, and I think I should just at least get a decent recording of them and release them, whether it's I sell it for or give it away for free or sell it or whatever. I just felt it was important for me to give those songs the life that they deserved. And so I started digging up Lonely Planet. And Lonely Planet for me was actually one of the most intensive writings for me, because I was trying to put myself in a lot of emotional places that I hadn't been as a songwriter, and which helped me to really capture the elements of those songs. And so the first song that we are going to go through is called The Candlelit Dinner for One. And this song I wrote on piano first. And it's in a key that I wasn't really familiar with, because a lot of times as a piano, for me as a musician, I'm not always paying attention to keys. I'm paying attention to what I hear. And so this one I wrote, I think it's the key of G minor. And so, anyways, I want to kind of talk about the arrangement, the production. I used a lot of more inexpensive gear. So let's take a look at Candlelit Dinner for One. Okay, so with the original recording of Candlelit Dinner for One, I actually had a more simplistic approach, because I was using a Fostex VF08, which was a digital 8-track recorder, and so I had to be more simplistic with my approach. So I used, I had one track for the piano, one track for bass guitar, one track for clean electric guitar rhythm. I had a distorted guitar. And also I recorded the drums interesting into one track. What I basically did is I had a friend of mine who was a drummer, and he agreed to play on the record, and we mic'd up. I borrowed a drum mic kit and mic'd up all the drums separately, but I had to mix them through a Behringer 4-track mixer, and then run that through a 2 preamp compressor. And then eventually into the 8-track recorder. So basically the sound that I got at that moment with the drums is pretty much the sound that I was going to get. And so then I basically mixed that into Sonar, or a newer version of Cakewalk at the time. And so I down-mixed everything into Cakewalk. My roommate also, Craig Larson, had a keyboard that I used to get the synth strings, and also I believe I recorded all the vocals into that, and I actually had only a lead vocal, and then I recorded the vocal double for the chorus. Okay, so for the guitars I actually used a couple of inexpensive pedals. I used a Obsessive pedal, Overdrive, which is a clone of the Full Tones OCD pedal, which costs you the Obsessive costs you probably about $20. And then I also used the Metalhead by Donner. There's another inexpensive distortion pedal, about $20 as well, $25. I also used a couple Joyo's California sound and the British sound. They're designed to be recorded directly into the computer, but I actually just liked them as stomp boxes on my amp. Now, most of the guitar sounds I did mic an amp. I used my Blackstar ID Core 40. I used both my Audio Technica AT2020 and my AKG P220 to mic up the guitar amps, and I sent them to my 2 preamp compressor by Presonus. Okay, instead of using a digital recorder, I decided to go with a DAW this time. I originally started using Logic Pro 9. I got an inexpensive educational version that I started using, and then eventually transferred over to Logic 10. Now, with this particular song, I have a lot more than 12, or actually, I think the original Candlelit Dinner was only like a 12 or 15 tracks, and this time I'm up to almost 26 tracks. And there's like different synths and different things going on. I have actually multiple layered guitars, like I showed you some of the effects I was using. But basically it was just drums, bass, keyboards, and guitars. And with this new arrangement, I instead of actually hiring a drummer, just because of time and because the quality of the software EZDrummer that I use, that I decided to stick with that for this time around. EZDrummer is really good, and I later bought the advanced, the superior drummer. But EZDrummer is really good for those who are working at home in their own setup, because there's different management packages you can buy. There's different ways you can edit this. There's a humanizer. Basically, it doesn't hit the drum exactly the same time every time, so it doesn't sound too much like a drum machine. There's also, like, you can adjust the velocity, you can adjust the tempo, you go half time to twice the time. It's just really a good program. So I used that. I did do my bass guitar direct line and allowed the mixer to create the sound that he wanted. Because once I finished all these tracks, I sent them to this producer, Mike Nelson, that I worked with prior on the soundtrack of this film, Sarah's Smile, that I'm still working on. And the reason why I worked with Mike is because he did such a great job with the music that, and he offers, to mix music as well. And he does an amazing job of creating depth and space and just giving my tracks a clarity that I couldn't at the time. And even to this day, I still work with him because I love his work.
Hey, it's Brooke. You know what to do.
Hey, it's me. I was wondering if we can talk.
I can hear the sound of traffic rumbling outside my window. I can feel the crumbling of my heart within my chest below. I light candles to illuminate the room as I stare blankly into space. Soft piano music fills the air as the tears run down my face. I've made your favorite meal, and I'm playing your favorite song in hopes that you come back and stop this candlelit dinner. Your food as it keeps getting cold, like your heart and your love for me slipping through the cracks. I wish that I could remember what it was that I did so wrong. But your answers, they are so general, and your arguments aren't so strong. I've made your favorite meal, and I'm playing
So I hope this video has been helpful for you. I meant this more as an inspirational video rather than an instructional video, because there's so many different ways that you can do music. There's so many different ways that you can record. So I want to at least open that you would expand how you look at your music. So anyways, if you like what I'm doing, please subscribe. Please hit the bell notification. I'm trying to at least try to put out one video a week for now, because I act like a lot of you have a job, so I have to do that. But anyways, yeah, just at least keep you informed of what I've got and coming, because I've got a lot of really good, exciting things coming up. So anyways, thanks for watching, and make the world a better place by using your imagination. God bless.